Hi guys, this is going to be something a bit different than what Tuna and Palsteron did. However, they are the inspiration for this video because they made a really good build. Yeah, of course I'm talking about the Explosive Arrow Ballista Elementalist. Uh, the reason why I'm saying that they made a great build because I've been playing EA on and off for like 7 years, 8 years basically since the game came out, and I can say there was some good and bad times with EA. Mostly pre-nerf EA was the best with Raider. I made a couple of build guides on it. It was really good. Then they nerfed it, and then it was really difficult for EA to bounce back until they started playing as an elementalist. The ignite on elementalist is just awesome, and it makes a build really different. So they made a really solid build guide. It's a good starter build. However, what nobody realized that, and I've been playing EA for quite some time, that EA builds have a really tough time with sustain. Uh, I tested it on standard with like really good gear, because on standard they really have several builds with EA that have great gear, and you can like do all the content with no problems. The armor is great, the grace is great, but when it comes to damage over time, on ground effects, which now in game we have a lot, and chaos damage, as you can see, the chaos resist is not that good here. It really can get tough. You can get killed. So I was thinking how I can min-max this build, what I can do a bit different than what they did, a bit different with the tree, based on my experience playing with EA for such a long time. And this is what I came up with. First and foremost, the tree is a bit different. I'm not using Grace, I'm not using Defiance Banner. I wanted to max the damage and the defenses. So what I'm using is skills. Okay, so what I'm using is Molten Shell, of course, which scales really high with a couple of passive nodes that I took. And I'm using from the auras Precision, Malevolence, and Determination. So keep in mind this is end game gear. So this is something that you need to strive for after you get the build get the build going with the starter items like what they did. I'm not gonna talk about the leveling because they really covered everything about the leveling. Their build guide is great. This is only like a couple of things that you can min-max in the build itself to make it feel really good. So Determination, Malevolence, Enlighten. Uh, what really makes this broken, in my opinion, for this build is this item, Watch's Eye. I mean, it's gonna be really difficult to get this, but if you get at least the Vitality ones, even one regen, if you get even, because if you see, when I remove this, right now the life regen is 2000, okay? I'm gonna remove this, and it's gonna go to 1600, which is not bad at all, but having it, it really makes the game different. So imagine you have 6.7k life and you have 2k regen. On top of that, you can use Glorious Vanity. I didn't want to put it in the POB because I don't know the passives it's gonna give, you know, those random passives. But if you use the Glorious Vanity in the name of Doriani, you get 50% of damage goes through Energy Shield, and we get Energy Shield based on life, which is gonna be around 2k all in all. So you're gonna have 6,700 life, you're gonna have 2k Energy Shield, and you're gonna have Molten Shell, which is gonna be really high, and it's gonna last around 4 to 5 seconds, it depends, because we have a lot of armor. We have like almost 40k armor, so it's gonna be quite high. So this is about the defenses. I didn't want to take about the grace because I don't think it's actually needed. Just a waste of space. Just make sure that on the gear itself you get a lot of spell suppression, a bit in the tree, and that's it. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna leave the POB link, of course, down below so you can go and check. And basically leave your comments what you think about this version of the build. Now I'm gonna talk about the items. Uh, the bow. This is like the perfect bow, as I would say for this build. It can get better. I crafted, so this is not impossible to craft. I crafted bows like this pre-harvest, so this is not impossible to craft a bow like this. All of this gear, like 80% of this gear is my gear from standard that I imported from my character. Some are crafted, like the jewels are crafted because this is perfect. I mean, you can remove the damaging ailments, but other than that, it's like a perfect jewel with life and damage. The These are the flasks. This is just for extra damage against the enemies, and a crit doesn't hurt, so it's okay. This is like a must. Whenever I played an EA build, I use this. Like, this is like the best flask ever for EA builds. The belt you already know, just put the catalyst on it. The taming. They're using Death Rush because of the onslaught. I don't think that's needed. You have the flask. This ring is just fucking broken. If you think about it, removing this right now, we have like 27 mil ignite DPS. Total damage for ignite is like 224 mil. If you remove the taming, the damage goes real low. Like, you lose the 3 million ignite damage and around, I don't know, 30 something mil total damage. So this ring is just fucking broken for this build. Next you have the ring, which is whatever. Like, you have life, you have some regen, LE damage with attacks, and minus mana. So this is like something you can easily craft. The amulet is kind of it's basically your end game goal to craft an amulet like this. It's gonna be difficult but not impossible. The level of the gems is good, not that important. Like, the fire damage over time is much better, but it doesn't hurt to have it. So I will cover it probably during the league when I start crafting an amulet like this. I will probably share how I did it. There are options. You would lose some DPS, but you can use the Owl's Uprising for one of the auras, the Determination or Malevolence, and then you wouldn't have to worry about this mod. Malevolence has increased mana, preservation, efficiency. So, but it's gonna be interesting to craft a ring like this. The boots, I like to use this because of the spell suppression. You can use the rare boots as well if you have enough spell suppression. That's even better, like Tailwind, Elusive. But again, this is like the budget item. The gloves, only important thing is like accuracy, spell suppression, life, some resist. That's it. KM's Heart. I want to talk about KM's Heart. There is an option, like you can have a rare chest with +1 to curses and some spell suppression, life resist. That's perfectly fine. However, I think that KM Hearts, in this version of the build where we have a lot of regen, we're trying to stack regen, life regen, KM Heart is the best slot item in my opinion. And of course, the helm, it's gonna be life, spell suppression, minus resist. That's the only three things that you need to worry about, and of course resist, so you can cover the resists. Okay. Now when we talk about the items, I want to talk about the skills before I go to the tree, which is going to be the last thing. The skills, explosive arrow. This is the really important stuff. As you could see, most people commented that when they play this build, they saw it's kind of clunky. You put the ballistas, then you wait for explosion, then you wait for ignite. So all of this can be kind of bypassed, and there are a couple of options that you can use, but you need to test it in the game. First and foremost, for mapping, this is really important. If you have, let's say, the regular burning damage gem, you're gonna remove that one and use elemental damage with attacks and ignite prolife and less duration. So this is the mapping setup, okay? This is the 6-cell mapping setup. Explosive arrow, less duration, ignite prolife, ballistas, deadly events, and elemental damage with attacks. If you have the awakened burning damage, like your end game, and it's maxed. It gives +1 to fire gems. Then for mapping, you remove the elemental damage and use the burning. And the best thing is you don't have to change the colors, anything for bossing. You just remove the prolif and the last duration, and you use the elemental damage and unbound ailments. As you can see, the damage you get is quite amazing. For mapping, if you remove it and you use the prolif and last duration, the damage is still great. It's like 24 mil ignite DPS total damage. I'm not even gonna count because it counts the duration of the ignite. So this is the mapping versus the bossing setup. Really good, really important. Vitality, of course, we mentioned that. Molten Shell, self-explanatory, and Blood Rage. You're gonna need it in maps to generate frenzy charges. We have 4 of them. If you craft some good gear, you can add 1 more, but yeah, that's perfectly fine. For the cursing, I use Rain of Arrows because I can also use Vile Rain of Arrows, which hinders the enemies. This is really good for applying the curse. However, I'm not quite sure because we don't deal any damage. I'm not quite sure whether we apply combustion. I don't think so. I'm gonna put like a lightning spire trap here, but the problems are the slots. So maybe we're gonna use a ring with a socket on it. So I'm not quite sure how this is gonna go, but we'll need to see once the game starts and we get all the good gear and we test it. Of course, the auras we already mentioned: determination, malevolence, and precision. Enlighten is good. Level 3 is also fine. We have enough mana even without Enlighten. It's kind of tricky, but Enlighten level 3 is just fine. It's gonna take you where you need to go. And that's it. These are the skills, guys. Now we go to the tree. Actually, before we go to the tree, I want to mention the Pantheon. As I said at the beginning, the sustain is really important in this build. As you can see, the chaos resistance is -50. You can probably get more with gear depending how you want to go with it. But this is why I took the Arakali Pantheon, because as you can see, this is all about recovery from damage over time, which is really a problem in this build. Like the only weak side is the damage over time that you take and the recovery, so we have to mitigate that with this, and of course a lot of life regen. And of course I took as well the soul of Shakari, which is the same thing basically. It's up to you, but this is what I believe to be the best in this scenario. Now we go to the tree. You probably saw the tree from Palsteron and Tuna, which is really good. But again, I think that the end game is not going to be that viable in terms of you will kill the bosses, no problem, but you will die sometimes. Okay, with this build, probably you're not going to die at all. It's going to be really hard for you to die, guys. So the different thing is I took the mana here and the life nodes, which is a bit different than what they did. They didn't use it. This life as well and mana regen, really important. I took the regen while moving because we are always moving when we are playing ballistas. So yeah, that's it. This part of the tree is the same. This is what I took because a lot of regen, 1% regen, life, regen, armor. Determination has increased mana reservation efficiency, which is also fantastic. When you think about the Glorious Vanity, the only position we can put it is here, because usually when you put it here for Glorious Vanity, based on my experience, I had a lot of fire damage over time nodes here, so there are a couple of options that will open for sure if you take it here, so it's an option. And of course, this is like the best node, regen and damage over time. Then we go to take some life here. We take the standard ballista stuff. Because of if you use the thread of, I suggest you take these. This is really good to mitigate the minus resist, or you can take this as well. So it depends. It's up to you. I like to have an extra jewel slot. We take the Mage Bane, of course, because we need spell suppression. This is only for spell suppression. This I didn't want to take anything. It's like it's up to you. but we don't have any evasion of the armor. We don't use grace, so I don't think it's needed. Uh, I believe they're gonna change something here, so there might be good nodes with onslaught. I'm not sure. We take a lot of we hit like regen again, a bit life here. Damage over time, really important. Now this is the part of the tree that's a bit different. They go here in the ranger area to take the spell suppression, so on and so forth. We're gonna try to get the spell suppression through gear and a bit of passes. This is why I take here. So this is our aim. This is the end goal game, and we take the Thread of Hope here slot for an extra maximum frenzy charge, which is gonna be 4 all the time. We're gonna be using frenzy as well. As I said, we're just gonna need to see the gem sockets in the gear. What we're gonna make a plan because we're using Cam's hearts. It's gonna be tricky, but we'll figure it out. What we're gonna exclude. And now, why we use the Thread of Hope here? Life you can take because it's connected. It doesn't really matter. But the 2 nodes that are really good, and I'm sad I cannot take these 2 as well. These are like whatever. But these 2 nodes, like the guard skill, removes bleeding and corrupted blood, and 25% increased duration and armor. Like we're using molten shell all the time, so we're gonna be basically immune to corrupted blood and bleeding. And on top of that, we have the best passive in the tree is the damage ailments deal damage faster and damage over time. And this is basically the only difference is that we take iron reflexes because we don't use evasion. We use armor. We max armor. As you can see, the armor goes to 90%, 36k armor. Spell suppression is 100. So, as I said, depending on the gear, this might be a bit lower, but this is your end game goal, guys. And the stats are like this. You're gonna have, even in average gear, you're gonna have around like 6.3 life. You're gonna have around 1800 regen. Without the watch's eye, it's gonna be 1400, which is also perfect. Like it's great. 2000 is like wow, but it's also fine. It's gonna be great. And this is about the passive tree, guys. What I just forgot to mention is the anoint on the amulet. The anoint on the amulet, I decided for watchtowers. I was contemplating a lot what we're gonna use because the best one you can use is this. This gives the best damage based on the POB, the Breath of Flames. However, going in the passive tree to get the watchtowers eliminates the possibility to play the regen build. And I believe the life regen is the most important part of this build because the damage is gonna be there. You don't worry about it because we don't even take a lot of damage nodes, as you can see. It's like here and here, like that. Those are 2 clusters, 3, 4, and 5. Like you take 5 clusters, like I said, call it clusters, like clusters of passive-tree. Only 5 of them for damage. I'm not gonna count the total ones. They do give some damage, of course, but I'm talking about damage over time. So in order for us to play a build like this, you cannot just go there. That's why I decided I'm gonna use the watchtower here, and then I mean there is an option using the blight gloves, the bread stalker, whatever is the name, instead of the gloves. But I think this is the best in slot. Like suppress. You can even put like fire damage over time if you manage to get it. But even this is like perfect. You don't need anything. So I tested this build, guy. I don't have like a gameplay right now because the gear that I have on standard is like I have like 400 remove tabs because I don't play standard. So it's really hard to get find the chaos card and stuff because I have some of those gear, and buying the stuff on standard is like impossible. So guys, I think this build is gonna rock. It's not only gonna be a starter build because definitely it's gonna start a build, but it's gonna take you to the end game, and possibly with a setup like this, you might be even able to do simulacrums 25 plus. I'm not sure. I never tested it, but based on the numbers that we get, I think that's gonna be possible. But we'll see. We're yet to see. I'm gonna start with this build for sure. and then I'm gonna try to build up and get the gear that I need, because the passive tree alone, it's gonna enable you to do that. The levels are really important, so I'm gonna try to hit 100, like not rush it, but I'm gonna try it. And yeah, guys, this is not a classic build guide. This is just something that I wanted you to know before you start playing EA, or if you get turned off by the build because it seems clunky at the beginning, so on and so forth. This is like, I think this is the best version of the build. I'm not gonna say their build is not good, but yeah, this is the min max version. There are a couple of things that you can do and try. As you can see, the attacks rate is like almost 2 attacks per second. What you can try, I'm gonna test it. I'm not sure how this is gonna work. I'm gonna test it, and the trees might be different. There is another version of the explosive arrow, which is the divergent, which lowers the duration. It's less 40%, but it gives extra 4 arrows. So depending on that, we might try and use it using the, yeah, sorry, my brain blocked. So using the lab enchantment for the duration for the explosive arrow, and using some passives here in the tree, and then I think it's gonna mitigate that if you use this passive and use the more skill duration. So I think we can get it like for bossing to almost 2 seconds. I'm not quite sure, but we can get it to almost 2 seconds, which will give you enough time for that big ignite, 24 arrows instead of 20, which gives you 20 more damage with ailments and with hits, because explosive arrow is getting buffed. So guys, all in all, this is the build, my version of the build that I think is much better. Sacrificing all this region for grace, it's just not worth it. So yeah, I just want to wish you good luck and enjoy. The league is gonna start in a couple of hours, guys. Yeah, and you can see me on twitch.com, Sema underscore car 19. I'm gonna leave the link below this video. Hope you guys see it actually, because I don't usually stream that much. I got like a busy working schedule and stuff, but I'm gonna try and I'm gonna stream this league. And if you have any questions, yeah, come and ask, and we'll go through this together. So that's gonna be that. Have a good day, guys. Bye bye.